in this life don't have much time. We're all gonna die.
Welcome to Ancient Wisdom, episode 64. I'm always so amazed that we made it this far. Have I got a tale for you today? There once was a farmer who had a bunch of lazy, dumb, good-for-nothing sons. So dumb and lazy that he thought these guys can't survive on their own. They don't know what it takes to live out here. Life is rough. And when the farmer grew old and was ready to die, he told his sons about his buried treasure hidden somewhere in the yard. A treasure so vast and wonderful that it could sustain them for the rest of their lives. So when the farmer died, the sons naturally dug up the entire yard, finding nothing. But you know what? The act of digging up the yard refreshed the soil, and the crops grew beautifully the next year, thus finding the treasure after all. I think I told that properly. Now, the theme that story is to illustrate is kind of the theme, or close enough to the one that we're getting into today, which is renunciation of action. Why do you do things? Why do you do things, guys? Why do we do anything? Do we do it for the reward? Do we do it because we think we're going to get rich off of it?
Why do we do things in general?
Why do we do things?
Why don't we just sit down and meditate all day?
Boom, you got it. And today we're going to find out in Mitch Translates the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, yeah. So this is kind of a first on Ancient Wisdom because I'm actually going to attempt to translate the Gita, do my own translation, because I noticed the few that I was reading aren't really doing it justice. And I'll do the same with the Tao later. Oh, the best translation yet. But today is Chapter 5, Bhagavad Gita, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So I believe Chapter 3 was just Karma Yoga. 4 was Sannyasa Yoga, and today we're combining them a little bit. So we're going to find out the difference, compare and contrast, see if you guys could pick up on some differences, right? All on the same page. So this is called Yoga of Renunciation of Action in English. So the theme of today is renunciation of action. Why do you do things like the farmer? Tight. So let's get into it with the first verse here. Without any ambiguity, please tell me which is better. So right off the bat, Arjuna is asking Sri Bhagavan, dude, now you're telling me there's something called karma, sannyasa. You tell me about one, you tell me about the other. What's better? What do I need to do? Just tell me. Stop with this poetic nonsense and give me an answer. I'm trying to get to heaven, man.
Too many options.
Why? You're talking and talking like this show right now, but I don't know the answer.
A lot of fluff.
So he goes, and just to break it down for you, it can seem really similar, but the renunciation part is the sannyasa, and the selfless action part is the karma. So this is selfless action renunciation. It get complex, but we're going to get into it. Both paths, I suggested, lead to the supreme goal. But the path of karma yoga, or the path without attachment to results, is better than renunciation of action to acquire knowledge. Oh, do you guys get that? Right? You can be in the world, but not of it. What comes to mind when you hear that? In the world, you're in, but not of it.
Then you are already enlightened.
I like that.
You're existing in the world, but you're not being, I guess, tied up in its currents and riptides.
Right, as if the natural state almost is enlightenment and you just need to get out of your own way.
It's like the river of life is flowing around you.
Damn.
When you are
I like that visualization
enlightenment.
because it really is like you're the only thing in the way. If you don't exist, there's nothing to even flow around. You're just sort of part of it. You're in it. any thought that you have about separation, it creates the separation. The consciousness really does, to some degree, create matter. Was there time before somebody could say, hey, there's time is moving? Or was it just a concept that needs the radio and the receiver and the transmitter to even have a definition? I like that a lot. And I also think about the Tao and how it's sort of about absorbing the full experience of it all. The fullest experience is to be living on two planes at once, the spiritual and the human. You have to get all the experience, because why else would you be here? Why else would we be in a hellish state if there isn't some sort of lesson to be learned, some sort of experience to be had?
Wow, and I always thought that the goal was to get to one plane, like always be of God and spiritual. But I think now these people that I listened to in the past were just trying to say, you're not going to escape the duality of being in the world and not in the world. So just accept that.
And because we are so in the world, I think the natural state, there are some people, I believe, who are way out in space. But I think the normal human, the natural state is that we're just in the world. We think we're going to die. We're all afraid of death. And we could use a little spirituality. That's probably why they give you that.
Yep.
Or people tend toward that, I should say.
So maybe being in the world but not of the world kind of refers to like not being afraid of death, kind of being enlightened beyond it, kind of being
exactly, not limited by life, but experiencing it. Because I come to think, when I think about these spiritual things, that why would I even be here if there isn't something to learn or something to be a part of, or I am a part of something? Wouldn't I just already be in heaven? Why would Earth even exist? There's many thoughts throughout history. I don't know what you guys think, but some people think Earth is a punishment. Some people think we're supposed to learn a lesson here, like a ghost trapped in a certain realm.
Some people don't even explore that question of being in the world, and it seems like
why am I here?
Yeah, it seems like it hinders them in some way, because you have to have at least that first base question, like the mustard seed you said in the past, to get to the first step of getting away from this thinking that you're responsible for everything around you.
Yeah. It's easy to fall into the solipsism too. But here's the thing, the difference between the two, Krishna assures us that they're not really so different after all. Those who are actually learned say that he applies himself well to one of these paths, achieves the results of both. So you really got to do one or the other, he's saying. But probably the easiest one is just the path of attachment without attachment to results. To just do it. Is that not the easiest? Rather than just to renounce everything in the world. I'm not this, I'm not that. Because if you're in the world and you're renouncing everything, you're really falling into this loop where it's one addiction or the other, right? You're so addicted to this world where you have to renounce everything. So you go about that instead and say nothing is real, like you were talking about. Am I in this world or am I not?
You know,
why do these spiritual teachers make me feel that way?
I like this one. I like this one because it's not saying throw everything away, go extreme. It's just saying do what's in front of you, but don't get caught up in it.
So in a way, he's saying you can do it. You could give it a try. It's not impossible. You'll probably find the same results, but it's not for everybody, maybe is one thing. And it's going to be a lot harder than just doing what you do anyway, but not being attached to what it means to do those things. I like that. I like that as well, right?
Not thinking too much about it.
Yeah.
I think like that's a good way to put it, because you're not trying to get caught up in the meaning of it.
Yeah.
You're just saying, I'll just do whatever the universe brings to me.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's tough in its own way.
That is very tough, right? Sometimes we make fun of that. We're like, oh, I'm gonna let the universe guide me. And you're like, oh, hippie mindset.
Right. These damn hippies, they ruined everything. There was real ancient wisdom, and they bring their stupid gay phrases into it.
You're making me think of hippies. When
yeah.
Just let it
I know.
go how the universe brings it.
We're always dangerously close to hippie territory on this show, because they read some of the ancient texts too, but they were too dumb to understand.
It's like we have to put a disclaimer that we're not hippies.
Yeah, not hippies. In fact, quite the opposite.
True analysis.
True analysis.
Getting real with it. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by vata. Poetic, right?
It's almost the most sure way to ensure that the action does go in your, or the end result is in your favor. You know what I'm talking about?
I got to remember to use that. I keep forgetting about it. Yeah.
By doing what you explained, it's almost as if you are more guaranteed to get the end result you want if you just surrender the end result to the Supreme, like you said.
One could have faith in themselves without being bastardized by the Christian thought that having faith in self is sort of satanic. The purest form of faith in oneself is that, hey, why do we pray? We pray so that something bad won't happen. We pray so good things happen to our friends and family and ourselves.
It's like a sales negotiation.
Yeah, absolutely. But if there was an element of faith in the first place that say something bad should happen, there is faith that I will be able to overcome it, that God will be with me, that I have done the proper preparations in my life to be able to handle that, because it will come. That's something we know about life. The negative things will come, but if you surrender it all to God, not every single moment of your life has to be in fear.
You're making me think of like deal making prayers, or like deal making spirituality.
Yeah, isn't that usually how it goes? You pray to God, oh, I'll give you this if you give me that.
Yeah, I promise not to do this if I get this.
Boom.
Yeah, which is not how it should work.
Right.
How it should work is like,
if there was
just,
real faith, it wouldn't need to be that
just
way.
ask for what you want, pray for your thing.
Yep.
And the challenges will come in life.
Absolutely.
You don't have to trade away anything. You don't have to say like, oh,
and you will deal with it.
You will deal with it.
That's what's super cool about it. They're like, what do you mean? I don't need to make a deal? The Jews are over here. What do you mean? I don't get a discount? What's going on?
Well, it really is like a sales pitch, because that's how you sell to people. It's you want to minimize their pain and maximize their happiness.
So is that what it means when it says you will not be affected by sinful action as the lotus leaf to water?
The lotus wants the water.
No, you guys know about the lotus leaf? Maybe I should explain this to the audience.
It's buoyant or something.
The lotus is an ancient botanical where, in fact, Stain Defender pants are based off of this. The water hits it, but it's as if it doesn't touch it. The water flows right off the lotus leaf, doesn't attach anything. And that's how sin will be to one who surrenders his results to the Supreme. Because that got me at first. How are you unaffected by sin? What does that mean? You're not affected. You won't sin. You see sin and it doesn't affect you.
So what happens in your mind when you are affected by sin and it doesn't just roll right off of you?
Fear.
Fear.
Because Jesus would go hang out with all the sinners and he wasn't afraid. He was just like, it's just rolling off of me. All the sin is just coming off.
I swear, we're going to say a lot of buzzwords in this, but fear is probably the biggest, because if you think that this life is the only thing, the only life, you're going to be afraid of dying. Death is coming. Oh, I'm afraid, so I'm going to get everything done now. I got a checklist. I got to do it all.
We're in a rush.
We're in a rush.
Trying to run away from something.
Boom. Therefore, we're attached to results, because we need results. Because this is the only life. I need to see. This is the only thing I got. I need to see something different.
Well, it's very desperate for the end result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what is the end result? Death. It's not looking too good if you think that this is all there is.
It's not looking too good what you're after.
Upon giving up the results of actions, one who is engaged in devotional service gains perfect peace. One who is not in consciousness and motivated by results gets entangled.
It's about the results. Or no, it should not be about the results.
Well, yes. Yeah. You get entangled.
Yeah.
So, my natural question to you guys is there no middle ground? This is a trick question, right? It's kind of fun. Devotional service, I got to be, devotional, my friend. I gain perfect peace. But then if I'm not, I get entangled. Is there no middle ground? I'm either entangled or I got to pray forever.
It's almost like you can get entangled when you've been too devoted for a while. You just want to spice it up a little bit. You just want to feel more on both planes. You want to feel like one foot's in the physical world and one's in the spiritual
Pretty
world.
good. I
You're
like
making
that.
me think of like the mega church pastors who like preach like, oh, God will reward you with the riches of this earth.
Yeah.
Where it's
You
like
got
the
it.
middle ground where you get all the riches,
middle ground.
but
Can
you're
I-
still holy.
Can I have God and the devil both giving me gifts for Christmas?
I think that's the mindset though. Like you kind of want both. You want your cake and to eat it too.
You think so, huh?
I mean, I guess I would apply it to myself.
Right.
Because in your analogy, it made me think of like the river flowing, and then you're just a leaf, but you decide to go off to the side a little bit and get stuck in a crevice or a rock pile for a little bit.
Visualization, yeah.
You're entangled because you went against the flow. You're like, let me take
But you're still
take a
a
little
lotus,
detour.
so you're not actually touching the
Oh
water.
man. Okay, wait. So I like both these visualizations. That's pretty cool. But going towards Poge's thought there, I would like to identify the earth itself as being entangled. What else would you be on the earth if not entangled? There's no middle ground because it's a binary system. It is the two planes.
Tangled is going.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
With
what
the
you
flow?
said, but like, you know, almost like we're always in the little offshoot of the river with the rocks because that's what we are. We're not flowing. If you're not with God, if you're not dead, if you're not in devotional service, you're not flowing.
Is
So by
life
definition,
itself a little stream
Little
on the edge of the
tanglement.
river that we're stuck in a whirlpool?
yeah,
in?
it's like a muddy, shitty part of the river
We have to get back
with
to
a
the
lot
main-
of rocks. Yeah,
main
yeah,
flow.
we're really trying, but everything's so sticky and like there's a cool rock I want to look at and there's like
There's whirlpools
there's
to
bitches
bounce
or
off
something.
of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like there's always infinite ways, though. There is like there's a general path that we take because we have energy and we are energy.
Yeah.
But it's all these little micro, all these little microcosm paths to take.
Yeah, and then when you
along the
die,
main.
it's a surefire way back to the river. But that doesn't mean you can't be there now. You know, they say
Right.
die before you die. And then you will be at peace, my friend. How do you guys feel about life as a test? You ever think about that? Why are we here? Is God testing us to be through the river?
I always thought of
Ever
that one
felt
too,
that way?
Mitch. Like, is life a test that sends you to heaven or hell in
Right.
some way? Or is it like everyone ends up in the same place no matter what? Because life is just that tricky.
Yeah, it's tough. And
just
some
gotta
say
go
like
through
we're
it.
already in hell. There's like a lot of ways to look at this.
Maybe life
historically.
is just kind of like it's like getting you up to the right temperature for the eternal. You know, it's like getting you prepped, preheated.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
what do they
you got to
call
go
it?
through all this suffering for like your whole life.
Forged in flame.
Wow.
And then you understand kind of what divinity can be. And then when you die, you can.
That's pretty cool.
We just all go because we all like kind of got our own lesson.
Yeah, and some people, you know, in this tradition live countless lives and they're just not ready yet. They keep pushing it away, maybe.
I haven't heard the word test used in this context for a while.
Yeah.
And I used to hear Christians say it a lot, like, this is test for the real reward up there. But lately I'm thinking testing is more like a devil thing, it seems.
That's pretty cool.
Because I equate it with the word tempt at
Oh,
the same time.
could be.
Test seems like tempting.
Heck yeah.
Like
I had
people
this
I love,
fun-
I don't test.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's true. I had this fun sort of vision/thought experiment the other day. I kind of often think about stuff like this. White people, always thinking about Rome, am I right? But in ancient times, if you had appendicitis, you will die. We've talked about this before. You will die. My dad had appendicitis when he was a kid. Like, I shouldn't be here. He's probably the first generation in history that lived through that without dying a painful, agonizing death. But all of a sudden now, you can survive.
Yeah.
It's the
Just
strangest thing. Just because.
What? We're not dying?
Wow.
It's the strangest thing, man. It'll
Modern
make you feel a
medicine.
certain way. Modern medicine, man. Like something so intense. So I had this vision basically where, you know, maybe I had a son or somebody I loved who had this back in the day, and I'm like, listen, bro, there's some good news and some bad news. The bad news is you're gonna go through a lot of pain and you'll probably die. But, you know, if you have this knowledge, or maybe the first one to do the operation, or I could rip open your gut and take it out and tie a little knot, and then hopefully you won't die that way. A or B. Pick one. It was just like this thought experiment I had.
All right, I'll risk the cut open
Yeah,
the
you're
gut.
like, and there's so much pain and trauma associated, but you got to make a decision.
Probably how most surgeries started.
Yeah.
The guy's like, all right, cut me open and pull it out. 'cause
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I don't know what I'm going to find there, but you say there's pain. I'm just going to cut you
I'm
open.
gonna cut it out.
I guess. You're
What
in
else are
pain
we
now
gonna- what else
already.
are we gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Just point where it is.
Yeah, just point, and I'll just fucking rip you open and
maybe
see if
we
I find anything.
Take it out.
Maybe
you'll
there's a
be
little
good.
fairy in there causing you pain.
Yeah,
a little alien frog. I don't know.
I'll get it.
I'll get it out. I'll try my best. Here's a
All
lot
right,
of alcohol.
do it.
Yeah, seriously. Psh.
Maybe that was part of medicine, because I know the
Trial and
origins,
error, baby.
Yeah, the origins of saying the word "bless you" is because people think that the devil is escaping your body from
Yep.
that reaction.
It's like we got to remember in the ancient mindset, you guys can appreciate things more. Really, it's very true, and like the attachment to all this modern technology and stuff that was painstakingly discovered and created through countless sufferings and deaths. Oh,
Maybe the
my
guy
Lord.
dying is like, well, at least I added knowledge to medical.
Yeah.
Even though he
Sure, I'm in pain. Oh!
stabbed his lung and stuff.
I'm sure down the line someone will figure
Someone
this out.
will appreciate me. Yeah, right. To a certain extent, I suppose. Wow, that is funny. So I'm gonna save a life one day.
One day this knowledge that was wasted will go.
Oh god. And then in this way, not doing anything nor causing anything to be done.
Dude, he wasn't caring about the end result with the appendix. I thought that's pretty godly, because he did add to the world of more living. He created more life
This
that way.
hypothetical character.
You know?
It was probably a real thing, yeah.
My death will not go in vain.
It will not be in vain.
It's almost
Isn't that not a
easier.
little faith too, right?
It's
You know
easier when
that.
you have an ultimatum, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like both seem pretty grim, but at least you could do the noble thing as you're dying.
Yeah.
Contribute to modern medicine.
Making up these things. And that's why it says, this just brings a few thoughts to mind. Like, I know that this is real because it's the opposite of the way of the world. I feel like I'm always going to keep saying that. That's why I'm brought to the religious or the ancient aspect of these things. And those without faith also try to do things before they die. Why? Because death is the end for them. It is not God who is responsible for anyone's pious or wicked deeds, but the modes of material nature covered by ignorance. Oh, did you get that?
Modes of nature covered by ignorance?
Modes of nature, I imagine, just being earth, the physical nature of everything. Ignorance, not understanding that there's more, not understanding what it means to be alive. Because right here, it starts off, God is not responsible for anyone's pious or wicked deeds. This is interesting. What does this remind you of, right? Matthew 16:24. Then Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. It's almost like this free will debate. And in the Hindu tradition, They never really say free will, but they have karma and determinism, right? Is it determinism? Is it the cosmic order of God? Or is it karma? Do I do things and then things happen to me based on the things I do?
Right, because if you deny yourself, how is there a self to pick up a cross? And
I know what the cross
What is the
is.
cross?
The cross is accepting anything that comes your way.
Oh,
And having
man.
faith
Any
that-
difficulty.
To stop
Charity.
worrying about death and just accepting the universe, the world as it is the cross.
Man, deep. I love
Because
it.
you will
Pose.
suffer if you accept that cross. You will, because it's world. It's the reality.
It's heavy, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe you'll suffer in a different way if you don't pick up the cross.
Because it's just sitting there looking at you in the corner.
Yeah. Ooh,
The cross
I
is being
love
all
this
mysterious, just
visualization.
over your shoulders. Like, what are you doing, man? I'm your cross.
Whoa.
You gotta handle me, bro.
I love this a lot. Taking it into the Christian realm, there is a cross. There is a life to
it's
be
there.
dealt with. It's there,
Yeah.
all right. But what are you going to do? You're going to let it sit and watch you and torment you? Or are you going to take it up and move that cross? And taking up the cross, synonymous with being at present with what is already happening. There is a cross. Are you going to take it up and be with that cross, be with the moment, which may be suffering, which may be difficult?
Like Arjuna going to battle.
Man, there it is. Are you going to set it aside and let it just torment you forever? And save it for the next life?
Ooh, doesn't sound too good.
Don't sound too good. What do you guys?
We don't know if there's a next life.
And here we go. One whose intelligence is always in the supreme. One whose mind is always in the supreme. Whose mind is only meant for the supreme. Goes into liberation and is cleansed of sins. Now this is kind of saying you take up the cross, you're cleansed of sins. Huh? That's not how I learned it. What do you guys think? Be with God and sins are forgiven. I'd say that's how I would translate it. How? Why?
Because he said, if you believe in me. What did he say? He said, if you believe in me, you shall have eternal life.
I like that. I like that.
The act of just believing, and I guess this is where the Martin Luthers of the world would disagree. That on faith alone you can be saved.
Right.
Just believing in God, just believing in the faith, is enough to get you salvation.
Damn. So who's right here, man? Is Martin Luther with it?
It seems that when you're doing works, you're more likely to think of the end result.
I could see that. Maybe that's the renunciation. I got to do work. I got to do work. Because part of doing Christian works, it feels like you're saying, I got to do this work.
Right, because it's also
close to God.
It's also hard work to sit and pray and be still.
That's right, but so probably easier than the works.
Yeah.
And this one says, intelligent in the supreme mind, in the supreme mind is only meant for the supreme. So this is kind of more on Martin Luther's side, where if you could go fully into it. So this is deep, right? Because maybe they're both right. I think the Catholics, whoa, man, you hit it, Poge. The Catholics are maybe the renunciation, which is possible, but very fucking difficult. And Martin Luther over here is hitting the faith alone. Just the renunciation of the results of action.
Oh, he's it seems like he's taking a shortcut almost.
He's doing the karma yoga instead of sannyasa. Yep. It's not like a shortcut.
Right.
There it is.
Saying the easier way. I think that's it. But then I take the better way, which is the orthodox, even before all that nonsense. But it does remind me of the Bible, though. I wrote a few here. Blessed are pure in heart, for they will see God. Matthew 5:8, right? Pure in heart. Why are you doing things? For a pure reason. We say that in modern English now. You do things for a pure reason, not for the result. You're renouncing the result.
A pure reason is having no reason. That's what it sounds like.
Wouldn't you guys agree?
Man, that's true.
Is that not true? This is that stuff where you just know it's true. If you're nearer to him, he's nearer to you. That's always how it works. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and the dog eater. So like Haitians. What this really means is like the outcast. An outcast or a Haitian. You see a brahmana, which is like a high level priest. Or like the enlightened, the same way you see a Haitian. Or an elephant, for that matter. Now, isn't that interesting? Because we're getting dangerously close to hippie territory again. All is one, man.
They're all the same elephant.
They're all the same elephant, bruh.
That's hard to do, man. I don't know if I could equate them all like that.
So let's try to venture into hippie territory for now, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Which is true. Again, the essence, I think, is true, but it's not as gay as the hippies try to make it.
Right, I still have more barriers, and my mind is still in the physical world when I deal with a dog eater.
Yeah,
as
true.
it's described there. It's like I know to stay away from a little bit, but from them a little bit. But they've really got the same source.
Oh, yeah, right? Like everything we see is the physical plane, but the soul is pure, from what they say, and I guess I kind of believe that. That like the soul beneath it all, that which what goes on is pure, because it has no preference in this world. The soul doesn't say go eat that dog. The soul doesn't say go pray all the time. You know, it's just the person that wants to be closer to the soul.
The soul just wants to make music.
Yeah, I think so, man. Wants to vibe.
Yeah, the soul just wants to vibe.
John 15:5. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. This is saying the same thing.
The vine provides the necessary,
The nourishment.
not even nourishment, the enlightenment.
See, I always thought vines were bad for trees and branches, though, because they constrict.
But you're living on the vine in this
No,
one.
they're saying he's the vine. There's no tree in this at all.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see.
There's no tree.
This doesn't have to be a tree.
We're talking about olives and grapes.
Oh, okay, yeah, grapes and
We're
olives.
not
all
talking
right.
about a fucking
Vines are
shitty
good
vine.
then.
Yeah. God.
That's a good use.
Yeah. And Marco used to always like this too, because the vine, he liked the idea of that collective unconscious. And I'm like, dog, it's just called God. Why you got to
Just
make
call it
these
that, yeah.
Jungian terms? Why you got to
Collective
call it the
unconscious.
universe, man? You know, it's collective unconscious. No. What?
The collective one.
Yeah, what are you talking about? It's called God,
The
man. It's like
cosmic
we all come
background.
from the unknown.
Energy.
Everything. It's so weird, man, how people, especially these guys who think they're smart, they'll just come up with all these phrases. It was a Jungian idea, and I get it, and maybe he was sort of finding a way to branch the spiritual realm with the physical realm and get people to see it through his eyes. But right here, we must see as God sees. By sharing the qualities of God, men are situated in the supreme and free from birth and death. It's larger than a statement, you know? Birth and death. It's not actual birth and death physically, but it's also that fear too. What would you think? It's almost as if the idea of life and death is the very thing that stops being. Once you even think about life and death, I'm alive right now and I will die one day. Living has stopped.
It automatically creates a sense of anxiety and fear
Boom.
that you're going to die.
There
as
it
soon as you
is.
identify it, you can't be flowing. You can't be in the flow state because it's a mind fuck, man. If you're going to think about death, you will be afraid. When in reality, are you even alive? Why are you even defining that?
There it is. I like that a lot. And that's what it's saying. When you're with God, there's no such thing as alive. There is no life. There is no death. It's just what it is,
Existence.
I suppose. Existence.
It's this burden curse that we have been given to be hyper obsessed with the future. This thing that we are pretty sure exists. And it keeps us out of living.
So you think it's a curse, huh?
It seems that way. Not an intentional curse, maybe, but just by chance, we've benefited from planning for the future by growing food and saving food away for the
Okay,
winter.
now we're getting to a deep point, right? We've benefited in the future. I always like coming back to this because it's the opposite of ancient wisdom, therefore is the same thing. Progressivism. What are we moving toward? Everybody says, this is another Marco idea. We're always improving. We're getting better. Like,
Why?
I'm like, what? No. What is improving?
So, in relation to like survival, I think
It should be in relation to survival.
It should
I would
be.
agree with that.
I think in relation to survival, it's really easy to measure, right?
It's easier now to survive.
If you do this method, you'll have more fish than using that method.
Right.
Like that's pretty straightforward. Like,
And
I'm
I
gonna
don't
use that
blame
method.
ancient man for wanting that. I want more fish, of course.
It's gonna make your day easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
When you're like actually starving and don't have
Yeah.
fish, you want more fish.
You're like,
we're not
holy
talking
shit.
about someone who's like eating too much fish. We're talking about a guy who
Right.
has
That doesn't exist.
zero fish. fish. Yeah.
That's not even a
Yeah, that's not
thought.
even a thing. This guy has 0 fish
Yeah.
for many days.
Now just imagine, audience.
And maybe he gets
you
one.
have 0 fish, all right?
Maybe he gets 1 a week.
Maybe you get
2.
1, you're dreaming of 2.
Yeah. And
Dreaming
someone
of
comes
2.
along and gives you a fish trap.
Yeah.
And you're like, when you open this box, you'll have 10 fish in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I would do it.
So old
Yeah.
progress was trying to eat enough fish so you could survive the month.
Yeah.
But today's progress is eating enough fish where you have to forget that you're going to die at all.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
We're eating fish.
getting
so
too
you go,
deep.
Don't eat
Fish
McDonald's.
can
Let's
be
take this one step at a
variety.
time, right? So first, you want 2 fish,
Yes.
right? And then before you know it, you're like, oh, I got fish, I got cows, I came up with all these inventions. So we're at like 10,000 BC right now.
I should start an economy.
Yeah, boom, there it is. Now there's other people that want my excess of fish.
We need to
I have
invent
so much
money.
excess of food that I could focus my time on other things to
Yeah.
get
It's like,
more
What,
food for
wanna,
longer.
You don't want to accept fish for corn?
Right.
Well, how about
some bitches?
how about some sheep?
Yeah.
You don't want any of it?
Yeah, so then you get women. Then you get this thing called gold. Oh, it's shiny and you don't have it, but I do. Ooh. And then onward and onward. And we've totally forgotten that anything about progress or value was just about surviving to the next day. We don't even think about that. We don't even come close to thinking about surviving the next
Wow.
day. And I think that's where we've gone astray. We don't know that wealth, progress, was about not dying today.
He's making progress. He hunted 2 deer this week, and last year he only hunted 1.
Right.
That's progress.
Now,
you have
Poach-
something to measure.
There it is. Now, Poge is getting to the definitive statement that we hold on ancient wisdom here, which is that progress or improvement, it's not even a real word independent of itself. Right? What is progress? By nature, improvement and progress is a starting point and an end point. And progress is a process that happens on the way to the end point.
So I think what you're saying, what I hear you saying, is that modern day progress is pretty much impossible because we're not even trying to pursue or gain anything.
I
there's
think
no
so.
there's no background of survival to measure it against. There's no background of achieving some kind of art form to measure it against.
I think so.
Right.
I like that a lot. We've taken the word of improvement and progress and just made it a noun, but it was never supposed to be a noun. It's a verb. It's a process between 2 points that are defined.
Corporate America really put money on it. Now now progress is just measured in who's making more dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a new word. It doesn't seem like one of those words that had any merit back when words began, you know?
Yeah.
Because you said it, we're surviving for today. We need to get food right now.
Right.
So, like, you were in the process of dying, and we are too now, but we have so much more.
Whoa.
We have so many more cushions of getting food in between actually dying now than we did back then.
Dog, you want to know what's crazy? I just saw this now with what you were saying. Being rich now means that I'm farther away from death than your poor ass is.
Oh.
Dog, it's all still about death.
Yep.
If I have a yacht, that means I could afford more food than you can. I'm
all just
way farther
a pile
than
of
death.
food
Yeah.
potential.
And like, it's a pile of food. Your gold is a pile of food. It's a pile of doctors, lawyers,
Wow.
bodyguards. That's what your money is.
Yeah, that's how money was created. A promissory note
right.
of
Promissory
food.
that you ain't gonna die.
of food and medicine.
If you're broke, you're mad close to death because you don't have enough money. You're gonna kill yourself.
But
I got a ton of money.
You're closer to God.
I got this life, and there it is. And that's what we forgot about.
So
Closer
money-
to death is closer to God because you don't put the value, perhaps, on the life and death as they do. You literally have a stake in the game when you have this stack of dough.
They're
what I
more obsessed
hear
with death.
you
the
saying
wealthy.
is- Money takes you away from God.
That's what the ancients say, and I kind of believe it. Because you
can't be the
literally
mega-
are
you can't-
invested in life, which is the opposite of God.
Yeah, you can't
Wow.
be the mega preacher, mega church preacher
Can't do
who
it.
promises everyone will be rich if they pray.
Can't do it. But God wants me to have this Lambo.
Yeah, exactly.
And thus we have rejecting external pleasures, they find joy within. Pleasure coming from sense organs is actually a source of pain. What do you think about that?
That's
This is
good.
Krishna, the god of the Hindu tradition.
You know, pleasure from sense organs is pain.
It's actually pain. It's not pleasure. It's a lie.
Yeah, you could. That's like, say, Mitch, you've done this before. You eat like an entire pizza.
Yeah.
Because this is so delicious. I've done it too. Yeah,
Yep.
it's pain. It's pain right there.
It's pain.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe it doesn't even have to be excess. Anything that's sort of pleasurable.
I remember we got a pizza once, and I was like, Mitch, you can have as much as you want. And you were like, what?
As much as I want. What do you mean? 2 pieces? No. As much as you want.
You like passed out with the box.
I'm sleeping with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's young Mitch Roy, let me tell you. That's close to good.
You never
my
had
friend.
unlimited pizza.
Never in my life. And you know what? Yet again, I vibe with this because, and the spiritual teachers, because I know I have been lied to by the world. And it's really hard to accept for addicts, people who are addicted to anything, addicted to the world even. Would you agree? Are we all addicts in some way? Being entangled?
Do you define, is addiction always... We have funny things about addiction in our society. Like, addiction has to be something that hurts you. Like,
Right.
immediately. Like, it's, he's addicted
Or
to
those
drugs.
around you type thing.
He's addicted to alcohol. You could be addicted to pretty much anything, even if it's not showing you a negative effect.
I've heard this woman say like, "Oh, I've got no vices. I don't do anything," kind of thing. But then it's like, no, your vice is telling other people that you have no vices.
There you go.
Good.
That's
I
what
like
it
it a
was.
lot.
You should
Damn,
addicted
bitch.
to-
Oh, you just got slapped through the camera. Ooh.
Addicted to talking yourself up.
Yeah, that's all.
And is it
Power trip.
also possible in Japanese? Is it also not possible that we are addicted to life itself? I was thinking the other day,
Ultimate
I said,
addiction.
what's the biggest addiction of all? Could it be life? Why is it that we come back time and time again, if the Hindus are right? And much like the Greeks expressed in certain mythological lore, people had enough of heaven sometimes. They're dead and they're living their good life and they're like, this is too good. I want to suffer again. I want a little excitement. Could we be also addicted to life, the pain that comes with it?
I think so. I think especially right now, it's getting pleasurable to me to almost be like defeatist and want things to end, but only because we're not anything in the first place. Like, our society is not really it's not really worth saving for. Like, no one's fighting in the military for the United States. Like, we don't have an ideal to believe in, a leader we believe in.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And I'm getting these days a sense of joy from kind of just watching everything fail, because it's just like, well, it wasn't working in the first place. So like,
I
what
like
do
that a lot
care?
because I've had people call me fatalistic or pessimistic when I talk about stuff like that. But it's like anything in this world is like, would you rather me lie to you
Right.
and myself for that matter? God within him, he is devoid of sin and duality. In self-realization, he is engaged in work of the welfare of all sentient beings.
Wow. So if you realized, if you were like, oh, wait a minute, I'm God. Like, if you just like knew you were God because you're God, and at some point you realize it, logically it would be like, if I'm the most powerful being, why would I do anything but guide those poor souls?
Oh, I like that a lot. I was even going to say just sort of naturally you do it, but I like that perspective from the godly perspective. If you are one with God, wouldn't you want to guide others toward God?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you
unless God is like Shiva and like, I'm gonna make it hard for him.
Yeah, right. Who knows?
Yeah, you wouldn't be more into yourself. You'd be more. You'd see all other sentient beings. You'd see yourself in them a little bit more.
You'd naturally do the right things without even trying. And I've
Yeah.
always said this Christianity is fake, dude. This excessive kindness is fake. These fake Christians out here, man. Dog, no wonder they took it out of the Bible. lest I return to Thomas again, saying 14. If you fast, you bring sin upon yourselves. If you pray, you will be condemned. If you give to charity, you will harm your spirits.
Wow.
That's not something you thought you'd read in the Bible, so they took it out.
Charity. I like that one because it's kind of like a fake goodness.
It's all fake.
I'm going to let my money work for my holiness
Yup.
by donating to charity.
And of course, this is not against Christians. This is against fake Christians, which is the idea that I have to give to charity, which
Right.
is the idea that I must sin to negotiate with God. Get the better of that fuck.
Yeah, you might be interfering in their ability to grow when you give them something too. By giving them charity, you rob them of some opportunity to be.
Yeah, I
on
think
the
you
path.
certainly are, but I mean, it's more about self. It's not about them. It's about you. You give to charity, you harm your spirits.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because you're doing it with an end goal in mind.
Yep.
As you say the words, "I'm doing this for charity," immediately it's like the life and death thing.
The life and
Kinda
death, exactly. You're in the world in a powerful way. You're attached to it. I'm a pretty good person.
I'm going to the soup kitchen.
I'm kind of like God.
I volunteered this weekend.
Ooh, cute. So I think that's pretty intense, and even gives us some pointers. Finally, gives us some pointers at the end of the chapter here about how to go about doing this. Shut out the external and the unnecessary. Stay within the eyebrows. Suspending the inward and outward breaths, one can control the senses. In this way, one becomes free of desire, fear, and anger. And aren't those the three? Desire, fear, and anger. The things of this world that makes us attached to this world. Wanting too much. Why do we want? Because we think we're going to die. Why do we get angry? Because we think we're going to die. And you're wasting my time and this actually means something. Why do I fear? Because I'm going to die. I don't know what's going to happen after that. Whoa, is it true that it's before, after, and during? Desire. Before, I want it. I don't have it yet. Whoa, this is deep. Anger during, you're in it. And fear, what happens after? Wow.
And you're like experiencing all three in rapid, constant motion, it seems. If I do this, then what will happen now? This isn't happening how I want it to happen. I'm mad. All right, change strategy. You're always like bargaining with something.
There's always something.
That chasing of death.
Wow, that's cool. When attached to the world, it seems like you're always in one of those. Do you want it? Are you caught in the wave of it? Or are you afraid of it? So I think in modern times, we're kind of obsessed and overtaken with the world, and we just kind of need to get back from time to time. It isn't so intense as everything, right? Because we do now know that the goal is to be on two planes at once. And there's a reason to be here. We don't know what it is. We could speculate. But I mean, because you are here. Remember the logic of that. You are here. You will die. You don't know anything about that. You only know that. So it's almost logical to think that there's some kind of reason. Are you in hell? Are you being punished? Is this a test? Is this nothing? Or, any number of things. So it kind of ends on a strange, deep note here. I'd like to know what you guys think. Understanding that I am the beneficiary of all the sacrifices, austerities, and penances, one can be free from the mortal pangs.
He's the beneficiary.
And I can't help but think yet again, I am who am.
Yeah.
Going back to almost what Poge said about, if I know I'm God, wouldn't I want other people to be a part of that? Wouldn't that be my only thing without attachment to results? Just a life of service without saying, hey, I'm doing service, because you're already it. You're already that which is serving.
It's almost saying like every bad thing that happens to you, you should say, this is good for me.
I could see that.
Every sacrifice, every suffering you have, this is good for me.
Yeah, and like ideally, I suppose, no thought at all, but the fact that it's not bad for you. The fact that
Yes.
it is a process of growth. Because how many times throughout our life do we constantly forget where something terrible happens in the moment, but years later you're kind of like, well, I'm glad that happened actually.
Maybe you should really be like,
I've learned, I've grown.
yeah, it's not that the suffering is gonna. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Just be okay with it.
The faith in self. So sort of like we benefit when we help God, but why would helping God help us? You ever think about that?
Oh, man, this is really paradoxical here.
Yeah, for real.
So it goes back to the having an action or end result in mind. Because when you want to please God, we have too much of an idea what God is. So when we try to please God, we're actually not doing that. We're trying to please ourselves, because if I please God, then I will be pleased.
Man. And I think Evan just hit upon the final point, which is the renunciation of the fruits of action. Why do we do it?
Full circle, baby.
Because of God. So boom, I hope y'all learned a thing or two. Let's get a little ancient in a more Eastern fashion with Mitch translates the Tao. Tao, chapter 45. If great success is absent, its use is never harmful. If great surplus is empty, its use is never exhausted. Great direction seems flexible. Great skill seems inelegant. Great explanation seems inarticulate. Calm defeats the impatient. Cold defeats the hot. Clarity and stillness harmonize the world.
Wow.
This is the most confusing
That's
Tao.
cryptic. Yeah, it's very cryptic.
Man, and it kind of almost goes with theme right off the bat. So let's start at the top. If great success is absent, it's never harmful. And you could also say it's never fraudulent. Why do we do things? We renounce the results of action, as we learned today.
I think of success like if you're being too flashy with your success, the word success wouldn't even appear in your mind to judge the scenario if you didn't see symbols of success. If you didn't see a nice car, flashy clothes, and those kind. If you didn't see flashy material, expensive material, then you wouldn't even think of success.
That's a fun way to look at it. So I like that you see it in the form of symbols. That's pretty cool, right? Because if great success is absent, that doesn't, again, this doesn't mean you're not successful. Read between the lines, right? It's just saying that you don't see yourself as successful.
Right.
You don't define
It's the
yourself
word that's
as
the problem.
success. The word is the problem. I really think so. Because this is a theme throughout. Then if great surplus is empty, then it's never exhausted. It's how you see it. Surplus. Why do I need surplus? Why do I need 10,000 fish, as we were talking about before?
Right. And oh man, it's so
surplus is that stack of gold. If it's empty, it's never exhausted because you have a chance to get it again.
There's so many weird scenarios and metaphors you could apply to these, because when you're taking advice from someone who's successful but they're not dressed flashy or they don't have nice expensive things, you might discount it at first because they're not even successful, what do they know, kind of thing.
Yep.
But at the same time, they're giving you the most valuable advice they possibly can, because they're not throwing their money in your face, so they're giving the most pure advice they can possibly give. Because all right, well, I know I'm successful, so I'll give you all the secrets, but if you don't want to take it, that's your loss, kind of thing.
Great success is absent. The sight, the symbol, the idea of great success, calling it success, is absent. It's never harmful. It's never fraudulent, because it already is. Why would it be anything that it's not? Great direction seems flexible. And, I think this is one of the greatest translations ever.
Wow.
I got to say, because So many dumb people translated this crap, and they try to be too poetic and shit sometimes. And a lot of people say, great straightness seems bent. All right. And that's almost exactly what it says in the ancient Chinese. But that's not what it is. It's direction seems flexible.
Whoa. I like that a lot better than the last one.
It's
so much more clear.
Dude, I read 11 translations and the original ancient Chinese to bring you these translations. And mine is by far the best. Oh, you got to get it coming to store soon. But like, my word, they're trying to be either overly poetic that it loses its meaning or overly too close to the exact meaning that it doesn't have a meaning.
It's got too much Western influence, the mistranslated version, talking about straightness, because flexibility doesn't mean that you're weeble wobble and you're all over the place. It means you're taking a path, but it's very go with the flow kind of path, and it's effortless.
Maybe you get there quick. Maybe it seems direct. Maybe you have a fun conversation along the way, any of these visualizations, that you get there so fast. What was this? Oh, we already arrived there. I already have the answer. It doesn't even seem like anything happened.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, great straightness seems, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything at all. Great skill seems inelegant. Now, this one's a little straighter. I still love this translation as well, because it's just like, if you don't understand how jazz is played, it seems like a bunch of slop, when those might be the greatest trained musicians around. Someone who builds a fancy house, you maybe wouldn't have done it like that. Seems inelegant. Seems like, why is he doing it that way? I wouldn't do it that way. Well, because you're retarded. You don't know. You're not a master. You haven't trained in this skill. He could do it any way he wants. He could be a little, what's the word?
Eccentric.
Oh, eccentric. Boom, you could be a bit eccentric. Great explanation seems articulate. Do I need to look any farther? And exactly, right? Because what are you really going to explain? That's what I think about. What are you explaining? What are you teaching? You fucking fraud, you fucking liar. You don't know anything. So the great explanation of one who feels a certain way, the best thing you could do is explain your feelings. The best thing you could really ever do is say a poem and hope someone goes, damn, man, that's good. That's the best you could hope for. It seems inarticulate. And then, of course, just finishing it off, we have calm defeats the impatient, cold defeats the hot. Kind of similar if you want to see it that way. Calm always defeats the impatient, and cold defeats the hot at the end. But of course, clarity and stillness harmonize the world. It's about not being too in your head about it, because maybe we're trapped to these mortal pangs. Maybe we're trapped to fear, anger, and desire. But when one is calm, he could ease himself away from it. Sure, we're trapped to all these things because we're human, because we're in the world. But to edge ourselves away, to educate ourselves into a new sense of being, stillness and clarity may harmonize the world. Thanks for joining us, guys. This has been episode 64 of Ancient Wisdom, and we'll catch you next time.